Hello everyone and welcome to the second section of the course where we'll be talking about setting up the most secure environment for the deep web. So in this video I'm going to be talking about why you shouldn't use Windows on the deep web, and I have very good reasons for this, not out of hate of the operating system, but basically because the operating system, as it says here, is the most popular operating system in the world. Therefore, it is likely to be the most targeted operating system by hackers in terms of its weaknesses. So basically, being the most popular operating system in the world, it's no shock that people will target it more in terms of producing malware for the operating system and trying to exploit users. So there are going to be increased vulnerabilities and exploits targeted at the operating system because of its vast user base. This is not to say that Windows isn't a good operating system. It's one of the best, if not the best operating system. It's just that it really doesn't perform well when it comes to the deep web and in terms of its overall its security, really, and how secure the operating system is. Inherently, by design, Windows is less secure than any other operating system in terms of how secure and stable the system is. Again, that's not to say that the Windows operating system is poor or is not a good operating system by any means. Almost all the world uses Windows, and we have a lot of experts working on Windows, but really it doesn't perform well in terms of the deep web. So that's it for this video, guys. In the next video, we'll actually get started setting up setting up the environment, and I'm going to be helping you guys choose the correct operating system for the deep web. So I hope this video helped you guys. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments or in the Q&A section. Thanks for watching. Hello everyone and welcome to the second video in this section. And today I'm going to be showing you how you can install Tor on Windows. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't want to sound controversial. As I said in the previous video, Windows is not a secure operating system and it has a lot of flaws that will be targeted when on the deep web. I am making this video for anyone who wants to install Tor on Windows for whatever reason they deem fit. I have your best interest at heart and I want you to be safe and secure when browsing the deep web. So I humbly advise you again to just refrain from using Windows on the deep web, just for the safety of your privacy, your anonymity, and of course the files that are going to be on your computer. But without further ado, let's get started. It's really very simple to install the Tor browser on Windows. All you have to do is just download the Tor project. All you have to do is install the Tor project, as I'm going to be showing you right now. So you basically have to just open a browser and just search for Tor browser. That's that. And you're going to click on the first link, Tor browser, and it's going to take you to the website. Very nice website. And all you have to do is hit download. Now, as you can see, they offer different languages. That's very, very nice. They offer French, and you can basically download the Tor browser for different operating systems. We have Microsoft Windows, macOS, and Linux, which we will be looking at in the next videos. So we're just going to be downloading the Windows version for now, which works with both 32-bit and 64-bit architectures. So just click this right here and it should prompt you to save the file. I already have it downloaded, so I'm just going to go directly to that. So I have the file right here. This is the file that will be downloaded. A very, very nice icon of an onion that represents basically Tor, the onion browser. So just double click it just as you would any Windows program, and it's going to take you through the installation wizard, which is pretty much the default as you'll get with any other Windows program. Just hit OK, install, and kaboom, it's going to extract the folder to wherever this program you downloaded the program to. So let it just extract it. It's going to extract it to a folder called the Tor browser, which is right here on my desktop. And I'm just gonna hit run the Tor browser and just give it a few seconds to start up. Should start up immediately. There we are. So it's going to give you this small little window right here, basically giving you some information. So before you connect to the Tor network, you need to provide information about this computer's internet connection. So which of the following best describes your situation? I would like to make a direct connection to the Tor network. This will work in most situations. Then this computer's internet connection is censored or proxied. So basically this is what you would basically be using, I'm guessing, on a default basis. If you're using this on your maybe your office's or your school's computer and the internet connection is proxied through a series of proxies, you can use this one, but we're going to be using the direct connection to the Tor network, and as it says, this will work in most situations. So just hit connect, and it basically should just start connecting to the Tor network. So it'll take a few seconds, hopefully. Shouldn't take longer than a minute. Again, this may be dependent on your internet connection, but it shouldn't take that much time at all. So just give it a few seconds, hopefully not longer than a minute, and we should be ready to go. Alright, so as you can see, it's opened the Tor browser window right here, and it's basically saying that we can adjust our security level. I'll be getting into this in future videos. We don't need that right now. What we need to do right now is actually confirm that it has connected to the Tor network and this browser is correctly configured. So the way we're going to do that is by just testing it using the check.torproject.org. I believe this is the website that will actually check whether you have connected to the Tor. And as you can see, congratulations, this browser is configured to use Tor, and your IP address appears to be 185.38.14.215. So that's basically it. You are successfully connected to the Tor network. You are successfully connected to the Tor network, and you should be able to get started immediately. So that's it for this video, guys. That's basically how to install Tor on a Windows computer. It'll work on any version of Windows. This is Windows 10, by the way, as you could probably already tell. That's basically it for this video. In the next video, we're actually going to be looking at how to basically configure Tor on some very, very good Linux distros that have been designed for browsing the deep web and anonymity. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video or found value in this video. And if you have any questions, just let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Goodbye. Hello everyone, and welcome to the third video in this section. And in this video, we're going to be looking at Qubes OS and why it is probably the best option in terms of operating systems when browsing the deep web. Like literally, this is hands down the best thing or the best operating system that you can use when browsing the deep web. So I'm just going to go to the website right now. I already have it opened. The website is www.qubes/os.org. You can basically get it by just Google searching Qubes OS with a Q, and it's going to be the first website up here. So you just want to open it, and it's a very, very nice website, as you can clearly see. And what's this right here? It says Qubes OS, a reasonably secure operating system. Very, very convincing. But you might be asking yourself, what is Qubes OS? And basically, Qubes OS is a security-oriented operating system. Alright? Now, you might be asking, why is this the best option for Tor? Well, I'm just going to give you basically my point on why it's the best, and maybe Edward Snowden's advice right here. So if you're serious about security, Qubes OS is the best OS available today. It's what I use, and it's free. Now, for those of you who don't know who Edward Snowden is a whistleblower that is currently wanted by the United States for basically leaking information about the CIA, and he's currently wanted, right? And he communicates using this operating system right here, and that really is enough to tell you that this operating system is really secure. So let's get started on how to basically download and install this. So you just want to hit this very, very nice button right here, download and install, and voila, it's going to take you to this page right here, and you want to make sure you download the latest version. As of recording this video, the latest version is Qubes 3.2. I will be updating these videos as newer versions get released. So basically you want to download, you have two options. You have your ISO version and you have the torrent version of the download, which essentially are both the same. The torrent button right here is just for basically downloading the ISO through torrents. I'm just going to click on ISO, and that's what I recommend you guys would do. It's quite a large file, and by the way, this operating system when installed is quite large as well. So I'm just going to hit download, and I already have it downloaded, and we're just going to get started like so. So you guys might be asking, how do I get it installed? Well, that's much. You have two ways of going about it. You can either install it on your USB flash drive and then boot it from your computer, and then install it on maybe install it on another hard drive that you have around, or you could dual boot it with Windows, or you could basically run it on a virtual machine. But basically that's really very simple. If you're focused on installing it on a USB flash drive, this is how you would go about it. So basically I'm just going to go to the installation guide, and you want to go into the basically go down here into the copying the ISO onto the installation medium section right here, and it's going to tell you that you have to use the Rufus tool. That's basically, I think, how you pronounce it. Rufus is basically a program that will allow you to create a bootable USB drive the easy way, as it claims on the website. So just download that right here. I'm just going to download this one right here. It's very small file, 932 kilobytes. Just going to download it, and it should be done right now, and I'm going to run it. Hopefully it opens up right now. So there we are. Just accept the permission to run it. And do I want to check for updates? No, I really don't need that right now. So just let it run, and it should open up right now. All right. So basically what you're going to need is a flash drive, preferably I think 16 gigabytes and above. All right. Now, if you don't have a flash drive of that size, I'm going to show you an alternative way of running CubesOS, and that's through virtualization, which is, I think, one of the best ways of going about it. But nothing can beat the good old USB installation way. So basically you select your USB drive right here. Just make sure you select it. I have a 7.8 gigabyte drive in right now. I don't have a 16 gigabyte flash drive plugged in. I do have one, but I don't have it plugged in. You then want to go to this partition scheme and target system type. Just leave that as it is. File system NTFS. Just select the FAT32 default. You want to just select the default cluster size, and you want to give it a volume. I'm just going to call it cubes. This is what you basically do. You then want to go down here and select ISO image, and then you want to browse onto where you downloaded your CubesOS ISO file, which is right here. Mine is on the desktop. You just have to go to wherever you saved yours, and I'm going to select mine, and it's going to open. And basically just make sure quick format is enabled and create bootable disk is enabled. All right. Yeah, you can untick this if you don't want an extended label or icon files, and basically just start the installation process. Once this is done, just power off your computer, and then boot. You want to boot up into your BIOS mode and select boot from USB flash drive. I'm sure plenty of you guys know how to do that, and just select the flash drive, and it should boot up CubesOS, and it should take you through the installation section, which I will get to in a few moments. So what I'm going to do is I am going to basically virtualize this. Now I can go about this by basically downloading a virtualization software. I'm going to be using VMware for this demonstration. So just Google VMware, and you want to click on the first link. By the way, this is a free software to download and to use. And just let the website load, and you want to go into excuse me, I don't know what's up with the website. All right, so you want to go into the download section, and you want to go into workstation player. All right, so you want to just go into the workstation player and download this one right here. Just download it. I already have it downloaded and installed. It's very simple installation to go through. And once you have it installed, just open it up right here. So we have VMware Workstation 12 player. That's the latest version as of recording this video. Alrighty. Now, Once it opens, we want to basically go into this section right here, create a new virtual machine. All right. So now we want to make sure we select installer disk image file. This has to be an ISO file as it says here. And we're going to say just browse where you saved the ISO file or where you downloaded it. Again, mine is on the desktop. I'm going to click on it and open it. And it's going to give you a warning. Could not detect which operating system is in the disk image. No problemo there. We're just going to hit next. And we're basically going to select a guest operating system as Linux because Qubes OS is based off Linux. And you want to make sure you select Fedora 64-bit because that is what Qubes OS is based off. It's based off Fedora. If your computer is 32-bit, just select Fedora. If it's 64-bit, select Fedora 64-bit and hit next. You want to give it a name. I'm going to call mine Qubes OS. And you want to give it, you just want to browse into a directory where you want to save the files that will be associated with this virtual machine. I'm going to be saving mine in my virtual OS folder. You can save yours wherever. It recommends the documents and you can do that. That's fine. Just hit OK and hit next. Now it's going to ask you for the specify the disk capacity. I will recommend 30 gigabytes, and this may come as a shock to you, but it's true. This operating system is huge, and because it has a lot of features really. So I'm just going to select a maximum disk size of 30 gigabytes. Don't worry if it says recommended size for Fedora. I'm going to store it in a single file. I don't want it to be split into multiple files. Just hit next. You now want to customize your hardware. I'm going to customize my hardware right now. And I'm going to basically give it a memory, which is RAM. I'm going to give it a RAM of 2048 megabytes, which is 2 gigabytes right here. And you can basically just move the slider yourself, really. You then have your processor section. Now this depends on what hardware you have. If you have a processor that has only 2 cores, you can basically give 1 core. My processor has 4 cores, so I'm going to give 2 cores. And you don't need to touch anything else right here. You now want to go down into your display section and make sure that accelerate 3D graphics is checked. And you want to basically select your graphics memory. Depending on your graphics card, I would recommend globally 128 megabytes. If it gives you an error, just select 64 megabytes depending on what graphics card your computer has. My graphics card has 2 gigabytes dedicated. That's why it's giving me 768 recommended, but I'm just going to stick with 128 megabytes because anything over that is overkill really. So I'm just going to hit close and we can basically say finish. All right. So it's going to give us this very nice section here called Qubes OS, which is what we created. And looks like it did not actually create a RAM of 2 gigabytes. So I'm just going to move it to the 2 gigabyte section there. And I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to start the virtual machine. And it should just start immediately. So there we are, VMware. And it's going to open Qubes OS. So if you see this screen, everything that we've done so far has worked flawlessly. So just let's go up. The selection will be highlighted by white text. I don't want to test the media. I'm just going to say install Qubes, the first option, and I'm going to hit enter. And it's going to basically start the installation process. The startup process really. And let this run. This probably take a few seconds or up to a minute to start up. Alrighty, so once it's started up, it should give you this welcome screen right here, the installation welcome screen, and it's going to be telling you welcome to Qubes R3.2 as of this recording. Again, this is the latest version right now, and it's going to ask you what language you would like to run through during the installation process. I would like to use English and English United States. That's what I would really enjoy and I would find comfortable. Feel free to use any other language right here. I'm going to hit continue, and it probably should take a few seconds and we can proceed then. Alright, so it's going to give you this very nice looking mini menu, which is actually quite professional, I must say. It has reminiscence of Red Hat Linux and very top drawer Linux distros. And basically it's very simple to get started with the installation. You want to select it's divided into sections. You have localization, software, and system. So let's start off with localization. We've basically configured everything right now. So you want to select what keyboard layout you want to use. I'm going to be using English US. You can add another one right here. That's basically good enough for me. What language support you would like to use. Again, we've already selected that, but if you want to feel like you want to add some more, you can add them right here. For example, English India, English Australia. For now, I'm just going to keep mine to English United States. Again, you can do whatever you want really. You then want to go into time and date and configure it according to what time zone you are in. You can also configure the date. You can also configure the AM PM system to show the AM PM system, and you can also enable the 24-hour clock, which I like, so I'm going to leave it at that. You can then now move on to the software section and the installation source. We already have configured this, so we really don't need to touch on that. You then want to go into the software selection. Now in the software selection, it's going to be using the XFCE desktop environment. Now for those of you who are already familiar with the Linux desktop environments, the XFCE, as you know, is a very, very good desktop environment, and you will be able to change that once it's installed. But for those of you who are not familiar with this, don't worry about any of this. Just don't touch anything right here. Just leave all of this and just hit done. And the last section is the installation destination, basically just selecting the disk that you want to use. Now we created the 30 gigabyte virtual disk, or the VMware virtual disk. Just select it, and you're going to add the disk and just hit done and just select this disk, and you want to scroll down here into encryption. Now if you're going to be using VMware or a virtual machine, disable encrypt my data, because this will cause a lot of problems and you won't be able to boot into the operating system once installed. So again, I'm saying just uncheck this. However, if you're installing this through USB you're installing this on a physical drive, or you're dual booting it with Windows, the installation process is is the same thing. You can basically then encrypt my data. You don't need to uncheck this. But if you're running through the installation as I am now, you just want to make sure you just disable encrypt my data. Once done, just hit done, and you should be good to go. Now again, if you're doing this the hardware way, which is basically installing it on another hard drive, you can basically just select the disk right here and just hit automatically configure partitioning. Or if you're experienced enough to do it, you could go into I will configure the partitioning, which I would not recommend for beginners. But if you're doing this the virtual way, which is what I'm doing now, just hit done, and you should be good to proceed. Just hit begin installation, and it should basically start the installation. The installation will take quite a while, so I'll get back to you guys when it's done. Alright, so once the installation is complete, it'll take a while, by the way. It took about 30 minutes for me, and I'm sure it's taken about the same time for you. It's basically going to say reboot. Now, if you have not basically set your user creation right here, this will not be grayed out. So just go ahead and click it and enter your username and your password. And once that's done, you can basically just hit reboot right here, and that will basically reboot it, and you'll be able to use Qubes OS. Now in the next video, I'm going to be showing you basically how you can configure Tor on Qubes OS, and how to basically get access to the deep web straight out of the box. And I'm also going to be explaining how to use Qubes OS a little bit, because it is quite a different type of operating system, and it works in a very different way. Even for Linux users, this will be it has a learning curve that I will help you to get familiarized with. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, just let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Thank you so much for watching. Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to install and configure Tails OS for browsing the deep web or the dark net. So you might be asking yourself, what is Tails? Well, let's find out together. So what we're going to do is just going to open your browser. Any browser is fine, and we're basically just going to give it a search, Tails OS, as simple as that. And hopefully it gives us the website, and it does. Tails, privacy for anyone, anywhere. So let's click on that and let's see what it has to offer us. Now, let's see what it says. The website is very, very simple, very, very well designed, but let's see what they have to say. Tails is a live operating system that you can start on almost any computer from a DVD, USB stick, or SD card. It aims at preserving your privacy and anonymity and helps you to use the internet anonymously and circumvent censorship. All connections to the internet are forced to go through the Tor network. Leave no trace on the computer you're using unless you ask it explicitly. Use state-of-the-art cryptographic tools to encrypt your files, emails, and instant messaging. So straight off the bat, this is doing everything that we really need it to do when it comes to browsing the deep web or the dark net. It's allowing us to use the internet anonymously, and that's basically just circumventing censorship. Secondly, we know that all connections are driven through the Tor network, so that's just peace of mind from the ground up, really. It leaves no trace on the computer. Basically, Tails OS is a live operating system. Now, if you don't know what a live operating system is, it basically works once. It doesn't save anything that you do on it, and it basically wipes whatever you've done. So it's almost like it just does everything for you. It cleans anything that you may have done, all the history, anything downloaded. It basically just wipes everything. It then uses state-of-the-art cryptographic tools, for example PGP, which we discussed earlier, to encrypt files, emails, and instant messaging, which we will look into in the next video. Now, let's actually get started on installing it. So it's very, very simple. Just hit install Tails 2.12. So let's just hit install that, and I'm just going to click right here, download only. We really don't need the installation assistant because that's why I'm here. So you can download the ISO image, which is basically the single file containing the whole operating system. So they also want you to verify your download. So they're basically going to give you two techniques to do this verification. You can download the ISO image via Firefox add-on. The add-on verifies your download automatically. So let's just install the Firefox add-on. No, not really. So you can download it with a torrent. If this is if you really don't want to go through the Firefox add-on and maybe you're using Google Chrome, we can just go back and we can use this guide here, and I know that this will just basically bypass everything. Now, which operating system are you installing Tails from? So if you're installing it from Mac, just select Mac. If you're installing it from a Linux distro, select that. If you're installing it from Debian, Ubuntu, or Mint, which are the three most popular Linux distros, you can select that. Or if you're using Windows, which is what I'm using, just hit Windows. So once you've selected Windows, it's going to ask you, are you installing from another Tails OS? No, we're installing it freshly. So we're going to go with this one, download and install. So let's hit install from Windows. Now, don't worry about basically this section here asking you what you will need, basically saying 2 USB sticks. You really don't need 2 USB sticks. I'm just basically going to show you the simplest way of doing this. So you can hit let's go. All right, and basically you can download and verify the Tails OS operating system, the ISO file. So you can actually do that through the Firefox add-on, as I mentioned earlier, or you can do it through BitTorrent. I would recommend doing it through BitTorrent, or if you want to, you can basically just hit the you can basically install the Firefox add-on right here. Just allow it. Or if you're using Chrome, it will ask you to install the Chrome add-on. Just install it and hit OK. And it's going to say download Tails 2.12. That's the latest version as of this recording, and just hit download. I already have downloaded, so I don't really need to download it. So let's get started on installing it. Now, as I said, this operating system is a live operating system, which means that once you're done using it, it'll basically wipe everything once you shut down the operating system. So there are really two ways you can go about using this operating system. Number one, you can install it on a USB flash drive, and then number two, you can virtualize it, which is what I recommend for you guys, because there's really no point booting up into your flash drive, then using it and then wiping it. Although it is very good to carry around a Tails USB flash drive. For example, if you're at school and you basically want to browse the deep web, all you have to do is carry your USB flash drive that has Tails OS installed on it, and you can go to school, just plug it in, boot from it, do whatever you want to do with it, and just shut down, and it's going to wipe everything and you're good to go. But if you really want to enjoy deep web browsing, and as I must say, Tails OS works better than Cube's OS when virtualized, and I'm going to show you that right now. So if you want to install it on a USB flash disk, it's really very simple. What we're going to do is we're going to basically download, you want to just go down here, install intermediary Tails, and you want to download the universal USB installer, which is also one of my personal favorites. Just download it. It's 1.7 megabytes, really not that big. So it's downloaded. Let's run it and let's see what it gives us. And there we are, USB installer. Just hit I agree, and as you can see, it's a portable version. That means you don't really need to install anything. So basically it's going to say select a distribution from the drop down to put on your USB. We're going to select just go down into live antivirus. You want to go into here we are. That's it. Sorry about that, guys. They really have changed the sectioning of the operating systems. There's so many Linux distros, so you want to basically just go into other distros that are sorted alphabetically and look for Tails. Once you find Tails, just select it, and now you want to browse to where you downloaded your ISO file. Mine is in my download section. It's in a folder, and here it is, the Tails 2.12 as of this recording. So I'm going to hit open, and then I'm going to select the letter of my USB drive. By the way, Tails is a very small operating system. You can even install it on a 4 GB flash drive and you're pretty much good to go. So you can select your flash drive. I here have a 7 GB or 8 GB flash drive, and you want to format it as a FAT32. Alright, once you click that, just hit create and you're good. Once that's done, just power off your computer and then boot up with the USB plugged in, and then boot from your USB drive, and it should be as simple as cake. So let's look at basically how to start it up. There is really no installation process. It's just a live operating system. You just start it and you're good. So again, we're going to be using our VMware virtualization software, or VMware Workstation 12. I showed you how to install it in the previous video and where to download it from, so you can refer back to that. So you have it installed. Just let's run it, and let's get started basically running Tails OS. So we're going to create a new virtual machine, and we're going to hit installer disk image. We're using an ISO file, and we're going to select Tails ISO file, and it's going to again tell you could not detect which operating system is in the disk image. Don't worry about that. Make sure it's using Linux, and now you want to make sure that you're using other Linux 2.6 kernel, or that's if you're using a 32-bit computer. If you're using a 64-bit computer, make sure you select other Linux 2.6 kernel 64-bit, which is what I'm using, and that's what I'm going to select. Now next, you want to basically just give it a name. I'm going to give it Tails. It's really not going to save any files, so you can basically just store the files anywhere you want. I'm still going to store them in my VirtualOS files. I'm just going to give it its own folder, Tails. There we are. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to hit next. It's really not going to save anything, and here we are. Specify disk capacity. As I said, it's not going to save anything much, only the files you're going to be downloading there. So you might want to give it a bit of space. Basically I would recommend about 2 GB really. So 2 GB, and we're going to store it in as a single file, and hit next, and we're going to customize the hardware. The hardware would still, I think, just keep it at 2 GB for RAM. Processors, that again depends on your hardware. I'm going to keep mine at 2. If you have 2 cores, you can keep it at 1, whatever you feel comfortable with really. You then want to go to, we're just going to close it, and we're going to hit finish. and we are finally going to start the virtual machine, the Tails OS, and there we are. Alright, so it's already booted up. As I said, it's very fast and it works fantastic with virtual machines. Just hit enter on Tails and it should begin booting up. Don't worry about what it's doing right now. It is basically the startup. What I'm going to do is let me just maximize the screen right now so we can actually see what's happening. It's going to take a few seconds to start up, and hopefully it gives us something that we can work with. Overall, and in my opinion, I would recommend Tails OS for you as a beginner. You can move on to Cubes OS once you're advanced, and you basically when you appreciate the security features that Cubes OS provides. Cubes OS is a very good operating system, no doubt, but it's kind of overwhelming for the beginner, and it really just takes away the main objective of why we are actually doing this, which is actually to get access to the deep web. Cubes OS is basically focused on overall complete security and anonymity. Tails OS is focused on each and every section of that, including anonymity and cryptography, but it just does it in a way that's so seamless. So here we are. Welcome to Tails. As I said, it's going to work faster and you don't have to install it. So it's going to ask you more options. I recommend that you click on yes, all right, and hit forward. And it's going to ask you for an administration password. This is useful if you're going to be using the root commands, the sudo. For those of you who are familiar with Linux, know that the sudo command is basically for performing tasks in root. So you then have your MAC address spoofing. Your MAC address spoofing is basically it's going to basically hide the serial number of your network cards and change them. This will help you in anonymity, and as it says here, it will help you hide your geographical location. Again, very important. Make sure it's checked. It should be grayed. That means it's selected. You then want to scroll down onto your network configuration. Now, this is basically what we found earlier in the earlier videos with Tor. If you're not running through proxies, the first option is the best way to go. If you are running through proxies, you want to select the second one. All right. So once you've selected all the settings, I'm not going to use a root password because I'm not going to be doing anything regarding root commands or sudo commands. So I'm just going to hit login. And it's going to log me in. Hopefully it does this really quickly. So as you can already see, it's a very seamless operation. No installation whatsoever. Very simple configuration at the beginning, and you can basically enter an administrator password very easily. And here we are. Basically that's it. You're already into Tails OS and we can get started immediately. But there are a few things that we have to go through before we basically proceed. And we're going to look at that in the next video, where I will be configuring Tails OS with you guys, so we can actually get started browsing the deep web or the dark net on Tails OS. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, just let me know in the Q&A section of the course. Thank you so much for watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to the course. And in this video we're going to be looking at basically configuring Tails OS for basically Tor and the deep web or the dark net as it's called. Now some of you guys may not be very comfortable or used to Tails OS, and I assure you it's pretty very easy in fact to use. You basically have your toolbar right up here, and this has your application launcher, and it has your places, which is basically where your files are, your file browser. As you can see, it has your computer. You can browse files on your network. You then have your keyboard, your virtual keyboard. You have your clipboard. You then have something here called the onion circuits, which I'll get to in a minute. You then have your accessibility settings, your language settings, and you have your time and date. You have your connection settings with your sound settings, and you can basically log off, suspend, or shut down the system. Now, Tails OS already comes pre-installed with Tor, and as it said on the website, all connections are passed through the Tor relays or the Tor network. And how this is done is through the use of the onion circuits that are currently in place. as it will show you here, these are the current onion circuits that it's going to use, and it'll basically give you information about it and the bandwidth, and you can basically just customize a lot of stuff here, a lot of advanced things, but for now don't really get into it. So as I said, straight out of the box it's going to come with the Tor browser. But before we do that, if you guys are having trouble with changing the resolution of the operating system through the virtual machine, let me just show you how to do that. So you want to go down into system tools and settings. Once you're in the settings menu, let it just takes a few seconds to start up. You want to go into hardware and display. Alright, once you open display, just select the first one. It's going to say unknown display. That's because you're in a virtual machine. If you're running this through a USB flash drive and you've booted this up as sort of a dual boot, you really don't have to go through this because it's probably already using your native resolution. But if you're doing this to a virtual machine, just click on this display here, and you want to basically select a resolution that you are comfortable with. I find that 1280 by 1024 is perfect for me. I'm going to apply that, and I'm just going to say keep changes, and there we are. Works perfectly for me. I'm going to close that, and we can basically get started on configuring Tor, which is really very simple. All we're going to do is just hit Tor browser and just let it start up. It's going to take a few seconds. Just give it its time to continue, and you can basically just let it start up, and I can basically explain a bit more about this onion circuits as it opens up. So I'm just going to move this to the side right here, and hopefully we can minimize that. Let's just minimize that right there. Now basically once Tor starts, which it has right here, I'm just going to minimize that. So Tor has started, and I'm just going to basically show you that it works straight out of the box by running the URL that we did in the previous video, which is basically the check.torproject.org, which is down there, and this is basically going to check whether we are connected to the Tor network, which honestly speaking I think we should, considering we're running this on Tails. Just give it a few seconds. It probably is checking for the appropriate onion circuit to use, and voila, as you can see, congratulations, this browser is configured to use Tor. And that's basically it for Tails. It can't get much easier than that, and that's why I recommend this for beginners and people who really don't want to go through all the installation process and all of the complex stuff that CubesOS will basically force you to go through. CubesOS is a good operating system, but Tails is just much better, and it wins in simplicity. So that's basically it for Tails OS. And in the next video, we're going to be basically looking at a few privacy options that we can configure within Tor. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the Q&A section of the video. Goodbye. Hello everyone, and in this video I'm actually going to be showing you how to install any Linux distro that you want to be using for these for basically browsing the deep web, and how to configure it with Tor. So you guys might be asking, what about Tails OS and CubesOS? Well, those are security based operating systems, but maybe you want to install a Linux distro of your choice, maybe that one you enjoy using, or maybe you're just curious about Linux and this could be a starting point for you to actually use Linux for more than just browsing the deep web. So let's basically have a look at a list of some Linux distros. So basically, for beginners or for those of you who don't know what a Linux distro is, a Linux distro is basically a Linux distribution. Now, Linux is open source, that means it's free. However, we do have other variations like Red Hat Linux, which require subscriptions because they are maintained and provide basically they provide support whenever you need it. Now, when it comes to Linux distributions, it's basically like different versions of Linux themed and styled in their own way. So for example, we can have a look at Elementary OS, which is one of very visual Linux distros. basically it's going to just replace Windows and macOS in terms of the user interface. It is Linux after all, and it's a really good looking operating system. So for those of you who are keen on using elementary OS because of how it looks, it's basically one of the best, if not the best distros right now in terms of user interface and how good it looks, because you can see it really good looking windows and the taskbar right there. You can basically pay what you want, or you can just enter a custom amount, hit $0 and just download it for free. As I said, it's all free, and there's some testimonials here. But for this video, and what I recommend for you, is to use Ubuntu. And the reason I'm saying Ubuntu is because, first of all, it's the best Linux distro in terms of stability and solidity. So let me just open Ubuntu. I know most of you have already heard of Ubuntu. Ubuntu is basically the leading operating system for PCs, and it's basically running even on phones. Basically it controls the market share for Linux on laptops. Of course, Linux is not very big on desktops, but that's basically it. Now, if you're interested in looking at other distros, you could go to a site called distrowatch.com, which is basically a site that will give you information about any distro that you want. So you can search for a distribution, you can select one. As you can see, there are so many right here. You can just basically choose anything that you want. For this tutorial, you can use any. You can use Ubuntu, you can use elementary OS, you can use Debian, you can use Fedora, whatever suits you well. So this site basically has news on the latest versions of distros that are released. So you have right here, you have package hit rating. These are basically the distros that are the most downloaded. You have Linux Mint, Debian, Manjaro, Ubuntu, or people actually call this Manjaro. I would actually recommend this for you, but the installation is, if you're not used to using the different types of Linux distros, I would not recommend it, because it's going to be slightly different when it comes to installation. Otherwise, overall a very good operating system. But as I said, for this video, we're basically going to be looking at Ubuntu. So let's just go to the Ubuntu site right here. It's ubuntu.com, and you want to go into desktop. Just hit desktop, and you want to just say download Ubuntu, and it's going to give you the versions. Right now the latest version is 17.04. It's not the most stable. The most stable right now is 16.04.2, which I would recommend for you, but there's no real big difference between these two. So you can basically just download the 17.04 as of this recording, and again, you don't need to pay anything. Or if you want to support the project. I'm just gonna make it 0, and once that's done, you can continue the download. And once you reach here, the installation guide, I'll basically show you how to do it. So just hit download now, and it should start downloading the ISO file. So there we are, and that's basically it. If you're looking for a 32-bit ISO, I believe right now the only 32-bit ISO is for 16.04.2. So let's just download that, and let me show you that you can actually select, I think, a 32-bit operating system. Let's hit continue. Or if it does not give you the 32-bit ISO, you can basically just go into downloads and go into Ubuntu desktop. Alright, and you can basically see if you can basically go to alternative downloads, and you can download, go down here, and basically here you have the Ubuntu 32-bit and the Ubuntu 16 32-bit and 14 32-bit. So whatever your system architecture is, they've got you covered. So once you've downloaded the ISO, I already have it downloaded. We have to download the Universal USB installer. That's for those of you who want to dual boot Ubuntu, or maybe just want to try it out and see how it works. So you can just basically go to the first link here, Universal USB installer. We used it in the previous videos. It's one of the best USB installers. So just scroll down to download Universal USB installer, save the file. It's already downloaded, hopefully. My internet connection today is quite slow. I don't know why it's taking so much time. Alright, there we are. It's downloaded. Let it just run the setup. Alright, so now we can actually get started. So my Linux distro is right up here. It's the 64-bit version of 17.04 Ubuntu, and hit agree. And this basically will work for any distro that you choose to use. You can use Ubuntu, you can use Linux Mint, you can use Debian, you can use the Linux distros for kids, or you can basically select one from the other distros sorted in alphabetical order. There are a lot of Linux distros you can choose from. But for this video, we're going to be using Ubuntu, and I'm going to browse to where I stored my ISO, where I downloaded my ISO, which is on my desktop, and it's right here. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to open it. Once I've opened it, I basically select my flash drive. I think an 8GB flash drive would be enough to install bootable, to basically create the bootable flash drive. Just hit your flash drive and format it as FAT32. You then can provide a persistent file. This is basically if you just want to run Ubuntu off the flash drive and you don't want to install it. So this file will allow you, this is basically like reserved memory on the flash drive, which will be treated as actual storage, so you can actually store things on the USB drive as part of the operating system. We're not going to do anything like that now, and just hit create, and it should take a few minutes. And once it's done, turn off your computer, plug in your flash drive, turn on your computer, go into your BIOS and select boot from USB drive, and the installation will be the same as I will show you right now through the virtual machine. So let's use the virtual machine. We're going to be using VMware Workstation 12 player. Just open it up, and it should open up immediately. And we're going to create a new virtual machine, and we're going to use the installer disk ISO. This should be pretty familiar with you right now. Hopefully it is, if you have been following the other videos. So basically you have Ubuntu 17.04. That's the ISO file I downloaded. So basically it's going to detect Ubuntu because it's very it's a very reputable operating system. So let's hit next, and we want to personalize the Linux. So they've basically made it so much easier for you to do it. So I'm just going to use my name right there. My username is going to be the same thing. My password is just going to create a custom password. There we are. And you can basically leave it blank if you don't want a password. I'm going to hit next. You've entered an invalid username. A username, oh yes, sorry about that. The username has to be in lowercase. So I'm just going to use a lowercase there and hit next. Now again, we have to save the file somewhere. I'm going to save mine in my virtual OS folder. I'm going to hit OK. Ubuntu 64-bit, that's fine as a name. Hit next. Don't worry if it says anything here, just hit continue. Recommended size for Ubuntu 20GB. Again, you can increase it to how much you deem fit. Just hit next, and I'm going to store it as a single disk, as a single file. Alright, now we want to customize the hardware. So I'm going to open the customize hardware section, and again, memory, I will just stick to 2GB of RAM. You want to look at processors. We basically select, I'm going to select 2 cores. You can select as many as you feel comfortable. Again, you should be already familiar with the settings you should apply here. Then all I'm going to do is hit close and finish. This will be pretty much the simplest thing you can ever do. So in the next video, we'll actually get to installing the operating system, so we can basically configure it for Tor browsing. So thank you for watching this video. Bye bye. Alrighty, so once you have created the virtual machine for Ubuntu, which is right here, you basically just want to hit play, and let's get started with the installation. Now, the reason I said we should use VMware Workstation is because it makes the Ubuntu installation a hell of a lot easier, and you'll see that right now. So basically, let it just start up right here. Let me just maximize the screen, as you can see, it's already opened it in the full screen. So let's keep it that way. And as I was saying, VMware basically will do all the hard work for installing it, in terms of installing it for you. So just let it start up, and the installation process should be a breeze. Alright, so it looks like we have actually got onto the startup. Basically, I think it's just gonna start the configuration. As you can see right here, it's loaded up Ubuntu, and it's going to start the installation. It's going to start verifying installation configuration. Don't worry about this if you're a beginner. You just let it do what it needs to do. He's going to start creating a file system in the virtual hard drive that we created, the 20 gigabyte hard drive. Again, you could have used an additional amount of space. So basically it started the installation process. As you can see, it's saying copying files, and you can basically browse through this little feature window here that Ubuntu gives us. It basically includes the rhythm box, music player. So in all essence, Ubuntu is, I think, a very, very good, complete operating system. It can do really anything you can do on Windows. The only thing that Linux lacks at the end of the day is software support. Other than that, I think it's better than Windows, hands down. I use Linux for my main work in terms of programming and development, but yeah, it's overall Ubuntu, I think, is going to serve you well if you choose to use this for browsing the deep web, and you can really configure everything or tailor everything to your specification according to how you like it. So let this install, and I'll get back to you when it's done. Alrighty, so once the installation is completed, I basically, once it was installing, it'll basically just all go through the installation process without it needing any interaction from you, and it's basically gonna restart. And if you're running this on your main computer, the installation process will be very, very similar, and again, it'll reboot into Ubuntu. And if you created you created a username with a password, you can enter it, otherwise it'll just log you straight in. I had a password, so I've entered it, and it's logging me in right now. So I'm just going to be taking you over the basic interface of Ubuntu and how to basically download and install Tor and make sure that it's working. So just let it log me in. This is the first time I'm logging in on the system. So just let it load up, and we should be good to go. Alright, here we are. We're on the Ubuntu desktop. If it's going to give you some of these this weird resolution if you're running it on a virtual machine, just go into the system settings icon right here. Just open it up. Shouldn't take that long to open up, and you want to go into hardware and displays. Again, we have to just change the resolution to something we find appropriate. I find that to be the most appropriate for me. I'm just going to hit apply, and there we are. So it's applied the resolution that I feel comfortable. And now basically this is very, very similar to how Windows works. You have your toolbar or taskbar up here, and this is your app launcher or your launcher as it's called in Ubuntu. This is basically like your start button, and you can search for apps, and it's going to show you your applications that are currently installed, and you can basically search. For example, if I search for Firefox, it's gonna show up as Firefox. Excuse me, the resolution has changed again. Let me just open that up and let me just configure that right now. I'm just going to go into displays. Let me just configure it back to what I had set it as and apply. And let's close that. Keep this configuration. Sorry, I had to keep the configuration. Alright, so as I said, this is your start menu, and you can search for applications that are installed. Now, for us to install the Tor browser, all we have to do is open Firefox. It will come pre-installed. Make sure you're connected to the internet. I'm connected through the virtual machine. Just open Firefox and just search for Tor browser. You have other applications here, like you have the LibreOffice or LibreOffice. You have your file manager, so you can really just customize your files very easily. As I said, it's very, very similar to Windows and Mac OS in terms of user interface. You have your downloads folder. Let's just close that. So basically search for the Tor browser and hit the first one, the Tor browser, on the first link, and you want to hit download the Tor browser. It will all automatically detect that you're using Linux. Now you're going to go into the Linux section, and if you're running a 32-bit version of Ubuntu or any other Linux distro, make sure you hit this here. If you're running 64-bit, just hit that. I'm using 64-bit, so I'm just going to hit 64-bit right here, and it's going to basically save the file and let that download. Shouldn't take that long. So while it's downloading, let me actually just show you a few other things that might come in handy. So one of the tools that I'm going to be using in future videos to basically be configuring Ubuntu or any other Linux terminal for security, and basically making the entire system run through the Tor proxy or the Tor connection, is we're going to be using the terminal. The terminal, don't be afraid by the terminal. We're not going to be doing anything complex. We're just going to be editing a few configuration files here and there. So that's basically the terminal file, and that's about all the tools that you needed to do. If you want to customize your wallpaper, you can just right click and go to change background. Again, this is for beginners at Linux and those of you who are not very confident using it. There's some very good wallpapers you can select from here. You have this forest one right here. Some very good wallpapers. Again, you can download your own wallpapers and change them according to what you want, but that's for another video. I'm just going to select the default one, and let's open Tor browser, and the download should be completed. Alright, so once that's done, just close the Tor browser and you want to go into your files. Alright, now in the file section you want to go into your downloads section, and you'll see Tor browser with a tar.xz extension. Don't worry about this, just right click and hit extract here. Alright, so let it extract. It's going to extract the archive, and it should just take a few seconds, as you're seeing right here. Alright, so once it's finished extracting the archived file, the Tor file, just hit close and you can open the folder Tor browser English US, and you can just hit this little section here, Tor browser setup. Just double click that, and it should automatically configure and start Tor for you. So there we are. Very similar to the Windows section. It's going to ask you to use they're going to ask you which connection type you're using. If you're using a connection that is proxied, you can configure it through here and then connect. I'm using a direct connection, and I'm guessing you guys are too. So I'm going to hit connect, and it's going to start establishing a connection through the Tor network. So it's loading the relay information, and again does it really fast. So there we are. Should have started the Tor browser up, and we should be good to go. So let me just close that. So let's check again. Check.tor project.org, and it's going to check if the browser is correctly configured, and voila. As you may have noticed, using Linux or Ubuntu is much faster, and I would recommend, if you're thinking about virtualization, I would recommend either Tails or Ubuntu. But the good thing with Ubuntu is that it's a full operating system, meaning you can use it for day-to-day activities such as browsing the web, the clear web. You can basically write Word documents, you can perform graphical tasks, and it's just a wonderful operating system. So that's it for this video, guys, and that's it for this section. In the next section of the course, we're going to be looking at how to basically configure Tor for maximum security, and I'm just going to show you how to utilize Tor when accessing the deep web. So thank you so much for watching this video, guys. If you have any questions, let me know in the Q&A section of the course, and I'll see you there.